being recorded.
All right, here we go, guys. Can we get you, Robert, can we get you to turn your camera off? What if I just X him out, will it just... Okay, there we go. All right, guys, thanks for being here today. We're gonna just run down this one more time. So we're gonna do basically 3 steps to get to here. Okay. Now the way I like to do it is we start real simple. Okay, we're gonna put our first guideline in, and I'm using my JRL 2020T. This is our trimmer. I'm gonna go ahead and set my first guideline. Now, like I was saying, we're gonna do it mid. This is gonna be like a mid skin fade. So I'm just gonna go at the temple and set my first guideline. Okay. Now I want to come in with my balder, and I'm gonna bald at the beginning for the purposes of not creating another line at the end. Okay. We go in and shave it. Now, while I'm cutting, you're gonna see that it appears to not be done, okay? It's gonna look a little choppy at times, and the reason why is because we're doing skin half, 1.5. What we're gonna do is we're gonna polish at the end, okay? Versus polishing as we go along, okay? So now I'm using my 2020C, and as you can see, I'm just gonna put that second guideline in there, and this is gonna be our half. Okay, so now we got levels 1 and 2, skin and half. Now we're gonna take our 1.5 guard, and we're gonna make our third level. Okay, nothing too fancy, right? Skin, half, 1.5. Now, because his hair is longer than a 4 on top, I'll use a clipper over comb technique using a 45-degree angle. We'll take out as much as we can here. I like to go with what the hair gives me. So if it fades in completely, great, we move on. If it doesn't, then we'll just go back and we'll identify where we're at in our haircut. And then we'll put, 1.5 guard in there. We can open and close our blade to make it longer, and we'll work ourselves down. So it's super simple. Skin half, 1.5, and then we identify where we're at, work ourselves down. So the numbers work exactly the same. So if we're skin half, 1.5, and we do clipper over comb, most likely what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to a 1.5 long, then we'll do a 1 long, 1 short, and then we'll be left with our bald line. This is gonna be our clipper over comb technique. And like I said, I'm just taking as much out. I'm gonna go with what the clipper gives me. I'm not looking to make it perfect, okay? Now, what I like so much about our 2020C is that this has all the technology that our 1040 has in it. We've come a long way in the technological aspect of our clippers, in the sense of now we have blades that sense resistance on the blade. It'll give you more speed. We have, it now opens to a 3.5, which is a full 1. So most of you may not use this technique. You may be able to skip guards, and that's okay. If you want to skip guards, you don't necessarily have to use a 1. I like to use them and work my way down. But the clipper offers you so much. The rotary motor, you could cut through wet and dry hair. So if his hair was wet, we could do all the same things without having to dry it, okay? The rotary motor, it's not gonna snag and give you a nice even cut. Okay. So that's where we're at with that. Okay. We've identified and we come down. So now if we're 1.5 here, then I know I got to go 1.5 long. So I'm gonna throw my 1.5 on there. Okay, I've opened it all the way up. So this is where we started. Okay, now we're gonna open it all the way up. Then we'll work ourselves down. I can't see and I can't hear. Can we zoom this camera in a little bit? No? Okay, we'll try to push it forward a little bit for you guys. That better?
Yeah.
All right. So we've done our clipper over comb. We got our 1.5 on there, okay? We're gonna open it up. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna knock that weight line out. And then I'm gonna go right back to the 1.5. Okay, so it's literally 3 steps. We're gonna go 0, half, 1.5, which is what we have here. Now don't worry, remember at the end, we're gonna detail the haircut. So we're not gonna be worried about trouble areas. We can see that it's a little heavy here, okay? But the idea is 3 steps up, 3 steps down. Okay, so if I'm at skin, 0, half, 1.5, I know this is what? This is going to be a number 1, okay? We'll take our number 1. We're going to open it all the way up. Remember, this is what we're putting. We're going to start our guidelines all the way closed. We're going to open our clipper all the way up. Okay? So that's all the way open. Now we're going to close it. Okay? And we're going to just touch the line again. Now, one of the common problems that people have with removing weight lines is you got to understand that just touching the weight line is simply not going to be enough. Your blade and your teeth, and the teeth on your blade, you actually need to get past those teeth. Okay, so you have your guard on there, then you got your teeth, got your cutting blade. So when you see me up here, we're actually removing this line. Okay.
That's still the 1.5 guard you're using there?
No, so this is your number 1 on here. So we've already done the 1.5, and then we did the clipper over comb. Then we put the 1.5 back on because we were identifying where we're at. We're working our way down.
Okay. So now you're just doing the deep. You got the 1 on there.
All guests have been unmuted.
So now we have our number 1 on here.
Take that weight line out.
We're going to remove this weight line. So when I'm using full range of the blade, I start out using my full range of the blade, meaning I'm using the entire width of the blade to cut. Okay? Then you're going to see me switch to my side. Okay? Now when I'm setting it up, I set it up the same way on every single client. Okay? We're not going to change how we cut any person's hair. The only thing that changes is the pattern in which their hair grows. But this is the same idea used on everyone, every texture type, every style of hair. This is the way that I'm going to start. It's always going to be skin, half, 1.5. You don't want to change, especially when you're talking in terms of speed. You don't want to change what you're doing based on the client you have in the chair. Okay, you want to find a process that works for you. Now, if this isn't it, then my hopes are that you can either incorporate something that you see here, or you can actually use this. If this is similar to what you're using now, then we can help you perfect it. But don't think that this doesn't work just because this is his texture type and you get another texture type and now you have to change what you're doing. It literally works on everybody. The only thing that changes is the growth pattern. So if your hair's coming down this way, then you're going to be cutting this way. If your hair's coming down this way, then you're going to be cutting that way. But that's really the only thing that's going to change. You can use these steps literally for every single texture type.
Okay, every texture type. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this is
in
gonna be
school,
your
in school,
I
I
noticed full range
yeah.
in the heavier spot. Okay, when I need to, I'm going to use full range. Full range, full range, full range. But if I need to get a little higher in the fade, okay, I'm going to just lay it on its side. Okay, I'm going to open it up. Now look how high I can go. And I'm not changing the dynamic of the haircut, okay? I'm not putting any holes in the hair.
All
I'm not
guests have been muted.
putting it too
You
high
can
to where
unmute
it's
your
gonna be
line by
confined.
pressing star
But what I
6.
am doing is I'm able to get in there, and that's similar to using a shear and how you would point cut with a shear. All you need to do is lay your clipper on its side, okay? And you can use it to get some of the trouble areas out. Okay. So now we're still left with a faint weight line there. What we're gonna do is now we'll go to our half guard, okay? What we're gonna do, we're gonna open it all the way up. This is just gonna help you to take the lines out, okay? A lot of people prefer to push the line out, but I find that when you push the line out, you often get a little too high, okay? So what I wanna do is I actually just wanna watch it come out gradually. So I'm gonna open all the way up. Again, look how far above the line I am, okay? I'm not here trying to take out the weight line. Don't stay below or on top. You want to get above it. Now, one of the great features on this clipper you can see right here is there's a button here, okay? This button's going to offer you 2 speeds. This is going to be 6,200 RPMs. That's going to be 7,000 RPMs. Okay, so similar to our other models, we got our 1,000. That's going to offer you 5 speeds. We have our 1040 that's also going to offer you the same 5 speeds. This is a 2-speed clipper, okay? It's still very powerful at 6,200 RPMs, but if you like to cut with a little more power, then you can go to full speed. It's going to give you 7,200. Okay, so we're still removing that weight line. See how easy that comes out? Okay. Okay, so now we're just left with our bald line. Okay.
How'd you get so comfortable doing like the C motion, like flicking out? Like I'm only halfway through school. I mean, and like that's my big problem.
Right. So if
I'm
you're
not-
only halfway through school,
Yeah.
you're going to take some time to basically figure out your style of cutting. Okay.
Sure.
The pivot of the wrist, a lot of people do it very differently. Not everybody has a heavy C stroke. That's something that was basically acquired over time. And that's more of something you'll figure out on your own. That's not really something you can teach because that's something that you have to become more comfortable with as you start to find the way that you like to do things.
Okay.
But right now, learning where you're at, learning how to break it down, watching videos, learning in the classroom, doing all the necessary things, coming up with a plan, right? Cutting hair with a plan is what's going to help you really start to identify, what your likes and dislikes are. Okay. Sometimes a lot of the things that we're taught are not where we end up. Okay. My style is a combination of quite a different people that I've come across in the industry, people that I've worked with, people that have mentored me that I've learned from. So this is something that I've come up with, and it's been used. Many barbers use the same technique. I've just taken it and kind of just putting my own spin on it. And over time, this is what it turned into. But that's also through repetition, through consistency. This is what I use daily, and I don't switch it ever. No matter, like I said, no matter the hair texture type, I use the same 3 steps up and the same way down on every single client.
Yeah, I keep hearing people say that you need to have a system and like stick with your system. So
Right. So you need to find something that you're comfortable with every day. And you need to be so comfortable with it that you're not willing to compromise it. You're not willing to change it. A lot of the times, especially, if you're early on in the industry, you're still trying to find your way, but you want to try to keep something that's you can stay consistent with, something that every day you can learn to make it a little bit better, polish it a little bit better. What happens is when you start to switch your methods is that you're never going to get in a groove with what you're doing if you're constantly trying to change what you're doing on a daily basis. So pick something that you're comfortable with. The idea behind the chair is to be in your most comfortable state while you're cutting hair. So, find something that works for you and stick to that. If you're seeing that it's just not comfortable for you, or you feel like you need to switch something up, then you can. But try to be consistent with one method before you go to switching it up. That would be my advice on that.
sounds good.
All right, so now we're stuck with our weight line, and for right now, if you guys can go ahead, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this half of the fade, and then we'll have people talking in. So let's just mute the mics for now, and that way we can kind of get through this, and then I'll answer some questions for you guys. So now, this is where we'll actually push the line out. So versus where I normally would take all of my weight lines out, starting at our highest point with our blade all the way open, I'm actually going to close it and actually push this bottom line out. So what I want to do is I'm just going to come up, going to tap it. And just like that, you see the line is starting to come out. Okay. Now, there's a difference between cutting hair and polishing your haircut. Okay. What my idea is to get the haircut done, and then we'll worry about identifying where we're at in the fade, and we'll identify the trouble areas and we'll clean it up. Okay. So this is how you actually get your speed, and you put your speed into to work for you. So skin half, 1.5. I'm going to set all 3 guidelines in. I'm going to take them out, and then I'm going to come back at the very end, and then I'll start to polish and detail out my haircut. Now, the way that we can identify it is we already know what our steps are. So if we're 0, half, 1.5, I know anything up here is going to be a 1 or longer, and anything here we're going to be right in about the half range. Okay, so that's what I'll go to start looking to where I see inconsistencies at in the haircut. All right. Now, the great thing about our clippers, and it has just been something we've been super consistent with, is our run times. I think we have some of the best run times in the industry right now. This clipper is going to go for 4 hours continuous runtime, which is, it's absolutely amazing. It actually holds its charge and it holds its power through the duration of that time. So 4 hours is a lot of time when you're cutting hair. We also, offer other clippers that have 6 hours of runtime. We have 5 hours of runtime. It's just a lot of runtime when we're giving you so much power. So that's really why I like these clippers so much, because part of what we do every day and what we do behind the chair is partly in to the tools that we use. So having really good tools is super important. Investing into what you're using behind your chair is actually going to help make this that much easier. Okay. So I really suggest, if you guys aren't already using JRLs, to invest in a pair. Now I'm using the 2020C, but remember, we still have the 1000s available. We still have our 1040s available. Our 1090s are still available. All very powerful, all great run times, and they all do the same things in terms of blades, and they're all of our blades are metal with a ceramic coating on them so they don't get hot, which is, when you're talking about maybe not being a barber that's super fast behind your chair, you don't want your blades to be hot on your client. You want your blades to be cool and comfortable. We've already been using this clipper for some time, including earlier when I did, this side, and our blades are nice and cool. So that's very important when you're picking a clipper to use every day. All right. And it also will allow you to not have to buy so many. So these super durable. Okay, so again, we're identifying where we're at. This is 1.5 area. So I'm just gonna open it up and go ahead and start knocking out some of those trouble areas. So when you're identifying, starting open, it's got a little added insurance. If you don't really know and you're unsure, I always suggest keep it all the way open. Okay, that's just gonna give you a little bit extra length, especially on this clipper. This is actually a 2 right now because I have it all the way open with a 1 on it. So we open all the way to a full 3.5 on this clipper. So you can kind of see, let me turn it off for you guys, kind of see how far we're open there. So as we'll shorten it as we go, but if you're a little unsure, just go ahead and open it up. Kind of tap those areas, kind of see if you can go a little shorter or whatnot. Okay, now I'm gonna go back with my half. And as you can see, it's starting to blend out pretty nice there. So now we're just gonna no guard all the way open. All right, see that, guys? So is there any questions that we have right now on the technique that we're using? Is there any confusion on how we got and set it up?
Now you said on that bottom line you tapped at it. So like when you tap at a line, where you putting like you're putting the blade like on a bevel, like on an angle. When you tap at the line, what's that?
Right. So with everything that we do, we're gonna use full range setting it up. So when we're setting up our lines, when we're doing these 3 steps here, 0, half, 1.5, everything we do, whether it's the trimmer or the clipper with a guard or without guard, we're gonna use full range of this blade.
Okay.
So this is it's flat.
Okay.
So everything that we start, we're gonna use full range of the blade, and we're gonna do our 3 steps up, and it's always gonna be flat. The only time we're gonna tap or lay it on the side is if we're gonna be removing that bottom line or detailing. So everything that we're doing, setting it up and breaking it down, is always full range. When we get to the bottom line, you're actually just gonna tap the line, tap, 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 and then we can move here when we're detailing. So when you get on your side, okay, the side of the blade is gonna be meant to detail. Okay, you want to use full range setting it up and breaking it down.
Okay. So when you tap it, you're just going right below the line.
No, you're actually just going to tap the line right out. So you're just going to go to the line and you're going to take the line and flick it right out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now, let's see, we have a question. So open, no guard is equivalent to what on these? Okay, so this clipper, it opens all the way to a full 1. Okay, so whenever you put your guard on there, let's say if we open it all the way up and we put a number 1 on there, we're actually going to be at a 2. Okay, because you have your number 1 on there already, and it's going to give you your extra length.
Okay.
Now, somebody says, do you close on the 1.5 or only open? So on your 1.5, setting it up, it's going to be closed. I try to get as close to a true number as possible. So we're going to go close to set up the first steps. Okay. On the way down, what we're going to do is we're going to open it all the way to give us that added length. And then we're going to close it when we're taking it out. Okay. So on the way down, it's always going to be open, close on the whole way down. That's the same thing. So with no guard, it's the same situation. On the way up, we're going to open it. Okay. To give us the half. On the way down, we're also going to touch it all the way open and then close it, obviously, to remove the weight line. When cutting at the shop, you cut all the way around or finish sides. Okay. So yeah. So if I'm doing this at the shop, I don't cut from one side and then finish one side and go to the other side. Reason being for that is, for me, is because I'm going at such a high speed, I want to be consistent with what I'm doing. I don't want to do one side and then come to the other side, because maybe I might do, go a little higher or a little lower on the side. But if I'm doing it in transition with everything, then I'm transitioning from one side to the other equally. If that, gives you an idea of how I do it.
Does this system work with every hair type?
Every hair type. So like I was explaining, I use this, anything that you see on my page, any haircut, I use the same steps. Skin, half, 1.5, when it refers to a skin fade. The numbers switch up a little bit, but I use the same basic method if it's the hair's longer on the side. Anything longer than a 2, if it's a 2 or shorter, I just use the solid number and, give them the regular haircut. If it's a 2 all the way on the sides, we'll do 2 all the way up to the temple, and then we'll use clipper over comb and work our way down. If it's a 1, then I'll go 1, and then I'll go 1.5, and I'll create, the 2 levels, and then work our way down. But the most common haircut that we're giving in the barbershops these days is a skin fade. So, even if this was a mohawk, okay, and we were making our first guideline, it would still be skin, half, 1.5. Okay, so I use the same 3 steps on everything. Is the JRL, is the comb? Yeah, so this is our JRL comb, and these are available. Aren't they? They're available, Squeak? Yeah. Yeah, these are available online. So just use my promo code Drewdabarber, and that will be available to you. We have any other questions on this?
What if you want to do a drop fade?
So if we're going to do a drop fade, it's still the same 3 steps. The only thing that changes is the placement. Okay, so this is a mid-skin fade, right? So we start right at the temple and we work our way back. If we're going to do a drop fade, then we're going to go below the temple, right over the ear, and drop it in the back. And then we're going to place our 3 guidelines in there according to what we're trying to accomplish. Now it'll be a little bit lower, and we'll arch them back a little bit to drop it. If it was a high fade, I'm going to set my first guideline above the temple, and then we're going to go straight back, and then we'll set our 3 guidelines. So the only thing that really changes in the process is the placement, not so much the process itself, if that makes sense. We got any other questions?
Can you teach us a little bit about shape-ups?
Sure. Yeah, we're getting there, but I'll go ahead and kind of clean the rest of this back up, and then we'll get to that. Okay, so when I do my shape up, first thing I like to do is kind of clean out. You'll see a lot of the times, well, why is my shape up not as sharp? A lot of times our clients come in and they have hairs hanging over, or maybe, maybe they're growing their lineup back out, or whatever the case may be, right? So what I try to do is identify what we're going to cut anyway, all right, and where his shape up's at, and try to remove some of the hairs that I know they're going to become a problem once we put product in his hair, or he gets home and takes a shower. Okay, so a lot of this hair here is kind of like dead hair. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of clip off. Now I'm not clipping off and going into his hairline. Okay, this is what he has already. Some of this hair here, I'm just gonna take some of that hair that's hanging over the edge away and eliminate it. Now you see it still looks the same. The only thing that we're doing is we're just clipping off what I know will become a problem after. Okay, I'm gonna cut there anyway. So it's important to not start in a corner. Okay, a lot of the times what happens is when you start in the corner of the hairline, you're not really identifying where this side is at. A lot of clients don't have a strong prominent hairline, so they're going to be weaker on one side than the other. All right, so it's kind of important to adjust your client, figure out what his hairline looks like on both sides, and I start from the middle back into the side, and then I'll turn my chair. Okay, and then I'll come off of that middle again and work myself to the other side. Okay, too often what happens is that you'll get here and you'll start here and you're not even looking or paying attention to the other side, and that's what will start to become a problem for you with your shape up. So that's pretty important. The same thing goes with the beard. Okay, with the beard, I'm gonna identify where it's at, and I'm gonna work from the middle to the corner, from the middle to the corner. Okay, that's what's the chair's for. You want to spin your chair, and a lot of thing too is being comfortable. Okay, what you don't want to do is you don't want to get yourself into a situation where you're trying to cut this corner of the head leaning over your chair. Okay, because what happens is ultimately that line is going to be crooked. Okay, so being comfortable, use your chair to your advantage. Okay, and work yourself to where you're feeling like your body is square. Okay, and you're working yourself from one side of the head to the other side. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. Do we have any other questions on shave ups before we actually start to do it?
It's probably like a simple question, but like, what do you do for your chair height? It never really like kind of told us that in school. I mean, like,
Right.
how do you adjust the client?
Let's see this chair here. It's under there? Oh. All right, bring it all the way down. Okay, all right, bring it all the way down again. All right, so on this chair that we're using here, this would be its lowest point. Now, if I was a tall guy, which I'm not, okay, as you can see, but if I was tall, I wouldn't want to be leaning over my client or arching my back to do any of this process, not the side, not the shape up, any of that. The reason why is because that's going to cause a lot of stress on your body. Okay, first of all, over the course of time, as you're in this career, you want to try to simplify things and make things easier for you. So a lot of the times what we're doing here, and this really comes when we're talking about speed, you get faster by being more comfortable in your situation and having a process that you're going to use over time. And so what you don't want to do is you're already going to be putting a lot of pressure on your muscles and strain on your body. So you want to kind of simplify everything around you. Lighting, height of the chair. That's actually a really good question because I like to bring it up. What you want to kind of do is you kind of want to be eye level, okay, with your client. If I have to arch myself in any way, then I know that that's not the position I want to be in. Another key component to what we do is, Linda, can you turn the light off for me? Bad lighting, this is what it creates. You see how dark it just got in here?
Yeah.
Okay. In the shop, this is not how you ideally how you want to be cutting. Turn those lights back on. This is going to make all the difference. Good lighting is going to help you in identifying where you're at, what you're doing, You can see better. Okay. These lines, okay, in a dark shot, when they get out into the sunlight, you're going to leave weight lines in the head. Okay, which is the idea behind using all the light. You're going to be able to see better and identify where you're at more. So to answer the question is, I would go eye level. Okay, when you're cutting hair, make sure that your back is you're nice and comfortable, you're straight up. Okay, you're square with what you're doing. Okay, and good lighting, and that's really going to help in improving a lot of the haircuts. When you cut with the chair so low, you're actually cutting below your light.
Right.
Okay, and it's really dark in that space.
Right.
So bringing it up, learning to stretch the head and use the light. Okay, that's what's going to really make the difference.
And your mirrors too in the shop, right?
Right. So your mirror ultimately is your third eye.
Right.
When you're working on a client, okay, you've been focused on this situation for so long that you need basically a third eye. You need a third party perspective, right? So what's going to tell you the truth is turn your client that way and look at what you have in the mirror. The mirror is going to show you the imperfection in the haircut. Okay, that's a quick way to do it. You also can use a camera, even a camera on your phone. That's also going to help you by stepping back, looking at it through a camera is also going to show you exactly what it looks like. All right. So go to start shaping them up. And I'm using our 2020T, which again, our run times, they're amazing. The power on this is 7,000 RPMs. That's a really strong trimmer. It's lightweight.
Yeah.
They can be used on and off the cord. We have indicator lights on them. You're going to get 3 indicator lights. One's going to let you know it's fully charged. And then you'll have a yellowish color that will come on. That's going to let you know you're kind of running out. And then red is going to tell you when your clipper is completely dead and needs to be charged.
Are they easy to zero gap?
Yeah. So basically what we did here is if you can see there's a bracket on there. Our cutting blade is actually going to stay in place. Okay. So other clippers, to zero gap them, you would have to move that cutting blade. Our cutting blade is actually going to stay in place no matter if you loosen these screws or not. So once you loosen them, that cutting blade stays in place. All you have to do is worry about adjusting that back blade.
That's nice. Drew, do you oil clippers every day when you get in the shop?
Do I oil them?
Yeah, I heard somebody say you don't want to need to oil them. Like you just spray them down, and you're fine.
Yeah, so I mean, disinfectant spray. Obviously, you definitely want to use that, and I mean, you try to want to use that, after every client.
Right.
As far as oiling them go, one of the special things about what we've done is we put oil indicator lights on both our trimmer and our clipper.
Get out of here.
That's actually going to let you know when it needs to be oiled, which is one of the perks of what we have added in to what our technology with the clippers is. It'll let you know when it needs oil. I don't particularly oil them unless it needs it, just because sometimes that can make your blade stick. Right. And so I'll use my disinfectant spray, but oiling on a daily basis, no, I don't do all that. Okay, so I'm only gonna do my shape up again from the middle, work my way to the corner and down. Then I'm gonna turn the chair. And then I'm gonna come, now again, I'm square, I'm not leaning over. Okay, I'm not putting any strain on my body. I'm not cutting here like this on the side. Okay, I'm nice and square with my client. And I'm coming right back off that middle that we've already put there and working ourselves to the corner. Okay. Now, we have about 15 minutes left, roughly. Is there anything, this is not done yet, I can get into starting to polish this out a little bit for you guys if you want to see that, or we can take some time to kind of answer some questions if there's still any confusion on exactly what the process is. As you can see, we did, to run it down, skin half, 1.5. We worked our way up. Then we're going to work our way down. Anything longer than a 4 on the top, we'll use clipper over comb to kind of remove some of that weight around this area here, and then we'll work our way down. Remember, I'm not looking to get it perfect. So the idea with the clipper over comb is not for it to look exactly how it's going to look when I'm done. The idea is to remove enough weight so that I can go back to my process, back to my 3 steps, and work my way down. So basically what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to remove enough weight that I'm in the 1.5 area, that I could put my 1.5 back on, okay, open it all the way up and work my way down. Now, some people's hair is going to blend out perfectly. So when I get to using clipper over comb, if it looks great, then I'm going to move on. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you guys about. This class is obviously is technique and the way that I do it, but the other half of the class is speed. And when it comes to speed, what's really important is learning to identify when it's time to move on. What we do too often is we spend so much time on one area of the head that we were done 10, 15 minutes prior to actually moving on from that space. Okay, so the idea behind the way that I do it is to get in there, set it up, then to break it down. And then after I break it down, we've already done the nuts and bolts, so to speak. We've gotten our guidelines set in, our placement is there. Then we're gonna break it down. Once we start to break it down, then I know that I'm in the area now. Okay, I'm in the zone that I want to be to start to perfect the haircut. Okay, so you can choose to do it another way, and you can choose to try to perfect each area of the head as you work your way up. That's been done before and it's been done successfully. However, when it comes in terms of speed, I found it's a lot more efficient to do it this way. 3 steps up, 3 steps down, detail at the end, okay, which is really just polishing your haircut. Now remember, we went over full range and we went over when to turn the blade on its side. So again, full range of the blade, using all your teeth, okay, working your way up, okay, and setting in your lines. When you're removing your weight lines, you also want to use the full range of your blade. To detail the haircut, okay, you want to open it all the way up, okay, and you want to use the corners of your teeth, okay. So when I'm doing this here, I'm only using like the back 4 teeth on each side of the blade, okay. And you can actually go up a little higher, okay, and start to detail out those areas that you find trouble.
True. Did you use your half guard at all?
Yes. So I use the half guard coming down. So
Okay.
everything coming down, it's going to be those simple 3 steps on the way up. Coming down, yes, we're using different guards, but it's the same idea. You're setting 3 lines and you're removing 3 lines. Okay, now I use my half. Could we get away with not using it? Yeah. But I've just become so accustomed to using it because of our other models that I just decided to incorporate it here as well. So it's 3 steps up, 3 steps down. Can you demonstrate motions with the clipper closer to the camera when it comes to movement? So we're about as pretty close as we can be here now. Like I said, when it gets into motions, everybody's different. That's really, it comes down to preference at that point. One thing I can suggest is to try to use more of your wrist than you do your arm or shoulder. A lot of times you see people doing a lot of this here. That's just going to put a lot of wear and tear on your body. Okay. When I'm doing it, as you can see, the motion is all here in my wrist. And I use a lot of wrist motion as opposed to my entire arm. Okay. That's going to take a lot of time. And that's also going to eat up your shoulder and your arm, right? So everything here is in the wrist. Now, how you choose to do it, whether it be straight up and down, or if you use a C-stroke motion or a scooping motion, that's really comes down to preference and what you feel most comfortable with. But that's not really something that's specific to what we're doing here with the 3 steps up and 3 steps down. That's really more of a preference thing.
So this is a mid fade, right?
Right. So this would be a mid fade.
So now if you're doing a high fade, you would still do that same process? I mean, the 1.5 would be your final at the top?
Right. So if we were doing a high fade, we started here. If we were doing a high fade, I'd start right here.
Okay.
See how we're just a little bit up from the temple?
Yeah.
Okay. So then, the only difference is how I set it up, right? So I would make my guidelines just a little bit smaller. Okay. And working my way up to the crown area.
So you would never do like a 3, like around the Prouder Ridge? You don't ever run a 3 or like you take the 1.5 all the way up to the Prouder Ridge?
Okay. If you have your cameras on, it's okay. We're going to leave the speakers on, but if you have your camera on, go ahead and turn your camera off, because what's happening is everybody else can see you and not really see the zoomed in picture here. So if you got there you go. Perfect. Thanks. So to answer your question with the number 3, we could use a number 3, but I do skin half 1.5, and then I identify if the hair's short enough on top for me to go to that 3. So let's just say, for instance, the hair's a number 4 on top. Then after I do my skin half 1.5, I may just go to my 3. And reason being is because I identified where I'm at in the haircut. I know that it's a number 4 on top. I know that I got a 1.5 here. So a 3, I know I can easily put the 3 on there. I might just go ahead and use a 2 and open up my guard and just use a heavier stroke. And by doing that, I can kind of manipulate it and get to that 3. Yeah. But yes, to answer your question is you could use the number 3 if you wanted to. Let's see.
Hey Drew, whenever you put in your half guideline, did you have the clipper all the way open, or did you have it halfway closed?
Yeah, so when I use basically, I don't know if you guys are familiar with our other clippers, but if I go about 2 clicks in on this clipper, I'm right where our 1040 and our 1000 open up. So when this is pretty much a true half. Remember, this clipper was designed to open up a little bit longer. So when I'm actually starting and I'm putting in that half line, I go to where it would be about a half. Okay. And I'm setting my line. But to answer your question, it would be setting the half, a true half with your clipper open, depending on what you're using. So because this opens up a little bit further, but if I was using, do we have a 1040 in here? I'm going to grab a 1040 for you guys. If I was using my 1040, okay, and for those of you that have these models, 1000 or 1040, you would just open your guard all the way up, okay? And so that's where we would set our first line, okay, half. Now, because this opens substantially longer than that, okay, what I'm going to do is I go about 2 clicks in and I get right about that same length, okay, which is a half. And that's what I'm actually setting that line in with. If that answers.
Appreciate that.
Shaver coming soon. Right now there's not a plan for the shaver at this point. We're still, perfecting and working on what we have available to us, which is our 2020 C right now. And hopefully a shaver comes in the future, but as of right now, there's not one. I missed it at the beginning of the
Drew.
demo where you have a way to rewatch it. So it's recorded, and if you're on here, it should be available to you to rewatch it. How can I do that? Just contact JRL USA on the page, and they're really good at responding. And just ask them how you can make that available to you in Canada.
Drew, how many haircuts can you do a day with this system?
That really depends on you. The system is not exactly what makes you fast. Again, that really is your environment and how quick you're moving. But to answer the question, I mean, normally I'm booking out Thursday and Fridays, which are the 2 days I stay the longest, about 26 to 30 people on those days each day. But on an average, about 15 to 20 people a day. And those are with shorter hours. So a longer day is 8 to 6. I usually work about 8 to 4. So in that amount of time, about that many.
Did you say 30 people a day?
Well, on Fridays and Saturday, Thursdays and Fridays, I book out
That's
30
crazy.
people a day.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But like I said, it's not, don't concentrate so much on, the system. The system is going to contribute to you being fast. I want you guys to remember that it's about picking your tools, making sure that which is why I believe so much in what we have made available to barbers. These clippers can cut through wet and dry hair, extremely strong motors. The runtime allows you to get through your day without having to charge your clipper and have to put one down and move on to something else. So, when it comes to being fast and cutting with speed, a lot of that is not only what you have in your hand, it's your whole environment, the lighting, your chair, the way you're standing, what you're using. All of those things are going to contribute to your day and making you fast so that you can get through your day a lot more easy, which is what the idea of our clippers. Our clippers give you everything that you need to be successful, whether it be letting you know when they need oil. It gives you the runtime. Like I mentioned, the smart clip technology. We have that available on our 1040 clipper and our 2020C. And what that is that this blade is going to sense resistance on the blade. So when it starts to identify, hey, listen, I'm about to start struggling, it's going to boost the motor in the clipper, and it's going to give you that extra power you need so that you don't feel any lag in the clipper, which is really important. When it comes to clippers, you don't want to snag your client's hair. You don't want your machine to kind of lag on you. So this is going to keep it a nice, consistent cut throughout the duration of the runtime. Also, our blades, remember, our blades are metal coated in ceramic. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow those blades to stay cool. And that is super important to me. That's probably one of the most important things next to the runtime. Obviously, I want a clipper that's going to last me. I don't want to keep having to put my clipper on the charger. And to go 4 hours throughout your day, you can knock out a lot of haircuts with a runtime that's long. But the second most important thing to me is, are my clippers hot? Because if they're hot, what happens is that's when you start to see a lot of the redness on the haircuts, a lot of redness on the shape-ups. Sometimes it could be that you're pressing too hard, maybe using too much force, but the main contributor to that is a hot blade. So once your blade becomes hot, it's going to heat up on the client's head, and while you're actually going through your process, you're actually burning that client. And so that's where a lot of that heat is coming from, and that's from your blade. So super important, the clippers that you're using, which I really recommend that if any of you guys, if you're just watching this because you've seen it pop up online or you've been following me, to remember that the tools are really special and what we're doing here is really special. We've put a lot of time and energy into making sure that these clippers are, safe and, the best for you to get through your day. So I definitely want you guys to go check it out. Check out our website. I think our 2020Cs may not be available right now, but they will be available soon again. But I encourage you to use, pick up a 1040, use it. It's a very, very good clipper, and as well as our 2020C. So I hope those become available to you soon so you can get your hands on them. Any last questions before we get done?
You said there was a discount code?
What's that?
Said there was a discount code that we can use?
So there's not necessarily a discount code. It's a promo code that you can use at your purchase. And what that's going to do is they're going to go ahead and send you out some really great stuff. It could be no one order will be the same, but it could be a comb. It could be our neck duster. We have JRL placemats for your clippers. There's a couple different things, maybe an apron or a cape that he's going to be sending out with your order. So I encourage you to use the promo code, get some free stuff, and I believe it's free shipping involved as well.
And the promo code is Drewdabarber?
Yep. So just like my Instagram handle,
Okay.
that would be the promo code that you use at the time of purchase.
Can you tell me what you do for your detail work whenever you have dips in the head? Are you doing thinning shears? How do you get those shadows out?
So basically, when you have a shadow and you have a dip, that's actually a really good question. A lot of those dips you'll find will be on the back of the neck or head. But if you do have them on the sides or the back, all you really need to do is stretch the skin. Okay, just simply stretching the skin and getting in there with the corner teeth. Okay, that's going to help you take out those dips. You don't really have to get into thinning shears and shears in general. All you have to do is create some tension. Okay, so if my dip is here, I'm just going to create some tension right above the dip. Okay, and then I'm going to get right in there with the corners of my teeth.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and that's the same thing. If they're on the lower part of the head, same scenario. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys being with us today. Please go and check out our website. The full video is available to you. If you were in our group now, you'll be able to access the video. And if you guys have any questions, whether it be on clippers or anything that we've seen here, maybe something that wasn't clear, please feel free to contact me. You can also contact the page if you're having any trouble, with clippers or all right.
Thanks, Drew.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Yeah, man.